Think of classic Indian comfort foods: a golden potato samosa, a warm bowl of kidney bean curry, or a heavy corn flatbread. For generations, these dishes have stood as the ultimate symbols of authentic Indian culture. But if you traced the DNA of those dishes and removed every ingredient that didn't originate in the subcontinent, you wouldn't be left with a traditional meal. You would be staring at a mostly empty plate. Take the samosa. The crispy pastry is stuffed with potatoes. Yet potatoes didn't exist in India until relatively recently. They originally grew in the Andes Mountains of South America. Or consider a steaming bowl of Punjabi rajma chawal. The kidney beans floating in that rich, thick gravy trace their roots straight back to central Mexico and Guatemala. Even the daily flatbread, the roti, relies entirely on wheat that first sprouted in the Middle East before slowly making its way to the Indus Valley thousands of years ago. And the signature heat of Indian cuisine? The chilies that give modern curries their fiery red and sharp green bite are complete foreigners. They arrived from the Americas. The everyday traditional Indian plate is an illusion. It forces us to ask how these distant crops occupied one of the world's oldest culinary traditions and what people were actually eating before they arrived. Long before European galleons set sail, an ancient trade network was funneling harvests to India. Wheat, onions, and carrots trekked overland from the Middle East. Meanwhile, sailors crossing the Indian Ocean from Africa carried supergrains like sorghum alongside watermelon and okra. Over 4 millennia ago, early merchants managed to navigate these wooden ships across thousands of miles of open water, ensuring seeds and rootstocks survived the journey to take root in a new environment. India was never isolated. By the close of the medieval period, the subcontinent was already acting as a massive, welcoming culinary sponge for the ancient world's agriculture. Then came the year 1498. Portuguese ships dropped anchor off the Malabar coast, looking to control the lucrative spice trade. Along with currency for pepper, they brought exotic seeds from the Americas, entirely new plant species that Asia had never seen. They unloaded native tomatoes, golden ears of corn, and sweet tropical papayas. These crops thrived in the tropical climate, bringing a distinct sweetness and heavy, rich texture that quickly worked its way into local gravies and breads. Most notably, they introduced the green and red chili. Within a few generations, this South American import completely overtook native black pepper as the primary source of heat in local kitchens. 3 centuries later, British colonial rule added another distinct layer of botanical influence. The British took tea, a plant with roots in China, and planted it on a massive scale across the eastern hills for global export. They also imported cool-weather European vegetables, planting the early seeds for the cauliflowers and cabbages we see in modern dishes. While European expansion moved borders and extracted wealth, it left behind a permanent botanical legacy in the local diet, weaving foreign species into the survival of 1 billion people. So after stripping away the influences of the Americas, Europe, Africa, and the Middle East, what is actually left? What ingredients were born entirely on Indian soil? The foundation holds strong. Wild rice grew in the Ganges Valley. Ghee has been the soul of cooking since the Vedic era. Moong and tor lentils were always here. The flavor was built on turmeric, sour mangoes, sweet coconut, and the original heat, black pepper. The regional genius isn't in maintaining strict culinary borders. It lies in the ability to take an unfamiliar, foreign crop and forcefully apply indigenous cooking techniques to it. A vegetable from Europe, or a root from the Andes, gets preserved in oil and salt using ancient native pickling methods, or it's thrown into a hot pan and tempered in boiling native ghee until its origins are obscured by local flavor. Authenticity is defined by this persistent integration, taking a global inventory of ingredients and unifying them through thousands of years of local culinary logic. The next time you sit down to an everyday Indian meal, you aren't just tasting a single region's agriculture. You are consuming a highly unified, edible map of world history.